These are the bolts that I use. Wanted to be quiet in there because that's the parts office. I've got it set up, kind of. I'll show you exactly what I have going on. It's gonna be loud in the shop. We got a couple people doing work behind me. I have an example here that I want to show you. What I do is I have these studs hanging out when I get to the wheel bearing, and I cut them flush with the face of where the rim makes contact here, where the rotor sits on. Cut it right here, cut that off, and then knock it through and spin it a little bit, and it'll fall out of the back, and you'll have some open holes to work with. Then what I do is I take the bolt I just showed you, which is this bolt here, and I take a nut right here on the back side, and I grind one side of the nut flat so it sits up against the hub surface. And then I come and get some bearing grease, and I'll grease up the end of that bolt. And here's the flat side. You see how I ground that one side flat so they can sit up against the hub body. This is the very best way to remove these wheel bearings. They do not make a kit out there that will do what this will do in a cost-effective aspect. The only other kit that I seen was by a company that had like, it's a 3-piece set that goes over the spindle face and grabs and pushes rods through and everything else, and it was like a $775 kit. No thank you, Chief. And they just came out with it, and we've been doing this forever now. You see here how I took the 8mm backing plate bolts and I kind of spun this out of the way. I have that bolt up against the face of the knuckle right there, and then this one is going to drive through, and there's going to be an open spot on this other side. It's going to go right there against the knuckle face, and I'll show you how I do it once I get this set back in there. I only got one hand. By the way, I ream these holes out with a reamer. Let me get these reamed out. Okay, I switched to the one on top because I had a better surface back behind it right there to make contact up against. Now I'll slide my bolt through, move this up out of the way, slide the nut back behind it. Let me put this on the charger, get some charge going so I can give you some light. Alright, I went ahead and hit them a few times. You can see here how I've got that flat side right here. I've got this flat side here down towards the hub because it sits around the round part right there. Same here. I've got that flat side right there. Now watch what happens when I start. Watch that gap. Now you can hit it with a hammer. Hit it with a hammer a few times. I went and got a little bit bigger gun. There it is. There's the bolts. You can see better how I do it. Now these bolts are pretty much destroyed, and I'll get another set. There's that bearing. There's a hole. You're going to need to clean all that stuff out of there before you go back with a new one. The sensor sometimes gets stuck in here, and what I do is I'll take a long pocket screwdriver and I'll stick it down inside the hole, and I'll kick the collar one way and I'll kick the collar the other way, and I'll keep working it like this without damaging the threads because the screwdriver's all the way in. I'll just work it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then it'll start moving freer and freer, and then I could just grab the tab typically, and I'll just wiggle back and forth, wiggle back and forth enough to get the screwdriver up under there, and I'll let it help, and then eventually I'll get it out. And then I'll come back with a grinder, clean up the face right here where any burrs are, and then I'll just kind of run a tap back through there. I could have got a little bit more over to not affect this hole, but I'm not worried about that. I'll just tap that hole. That's it. And then the part number for this left rear, the hub bearing that you were looking at is BB5Z 1104A. The Ford part number is Hub 87. This is just another playback to give you guys, again, a lot of you that are on my channel have Explorers. This is the best way, the most cost-effective way by far to remove these hubs. Yeah, you're going to have a little nick in the knuckle face, but you know what? It's not going to mess with the integrity of the vehicle. Some of you have seen in the past where I've done this and it leaves two little bolt hole marks. They're like an 1/8 inch or a 1/16 of an inch deep into the knuckle face. You want to go out and buy an $800 tool, or do you want to deal with a little small minor imperfection in the knuckle face? This is the way to get them off. It ain't going to mess with anything. It's perfectly fine to do it this way. Sharing the knowledge, guys. Be blessed.